photograph frames faster than anyone else in the small factory. Assemble, glue, and clamp. Chaim Vesh, a Jew who did not believe in God and who had only come to Israel 2 years ago from Brazil, knew enough to praise Ali for his work. They spoke in Hebrew. Ali's Hebrew was far better than that of Chaim Vesh. Ali had lived his life among the Jews, traveling near 40 miles to the factory each morning and 40 miles back home each night. He took their language across the border to where he worked and left it at the border when he returned home. They were close to the checkpoint and safety, but they were still in hostile territory and difficult times. Ali tried to remain alert, but he was tired, and the noise of the 2 families behind him had given him a headache. He got headaches easily and tried any and all remedies to relieve them. Nothing ever really worked. He had such a headache now, but it was forgotten when the windshield in front of him suddenly shattered. There were screams behind him, people rolling on top of each other. Ali marveled at how perfectly the windshield had shattered and blown away completely, almost as if it had suddenly been cleaned and he could clearly see the road before him. He tried to drive on, his hands shaking, unaware of the bleeding cuts on his face. A voice, that of his 14-year-old nephew, Amin, cried out behind Ali. A shot passed Ali's face, and Amin's cry stopped. The fear of his entire life was coming to pass on this stretch of empty desert road. The images of robbers and crazed Jews were never far from his imagination. Shots from outside. Definitely shots. He turned his head briefly to see who had been hit. He thought he saw the bloody face of Amin. He panicked and looked for his own family in the darkness as he pressed the gas to the floor. His brother-in-law, the babbling Hassan, leaned over Ali's shoulder and began to fire his rifle wildly into the darkness. A rattle of shots sprayed through the van as it zagged from one side of the road to the other, and Ali lost control. Perhaps a tire had been hit. Hassan had taken a bullet and slumped back with a groan. The van careened. Ali tried to call his wife, his daughter, his son, hoping that their cry would be evidence that they lived. More shots. In the working headlight, Ali saw a man in the middle of the road. He was bearded. He held an automatic weapon and stood firing at the swerving truck, mindless of the fact that it might run right over him, which was what Ali tried to do as his head went mad with pain from the screams of his family. The van rolled drunkenly in the general direction of the bearded man who continued to fire. The van rocked once to the right and then fell on its left side, screeching forward along the stone road. Children, women screamed behind him as the van skidded noisily, sending up sparks and screeches that sounded like pain. Ali was on his side, his face inches from the road through the now shattered glass of the side window. A body, his nephew, lay on top of his as he uselessly and automatically tried to steer the dead vehicle. And then the van stopped, partly on the road, partly in the scrub of sand and weeds along the roadway. Ali, his hands shaking, pushed the body of his nephew out of his way through the missing windshield. He had skidded past the man in the road. At least he thought he had. Ali had no time to think. His wife, his daughter were behind him. He heard a moaning in the darkness. His nephew faced him, dead and bloody, just beyond the windshield now. As Ali eased himself out from behind the wheel, he called back, "Anyone who can move, come quickly, through the front window, quickly." He reached back, took a hand, his 10-year-old niece Kala, weeping, trembling. If only there were no moon, they might escape into the open field, be lost in darkness. A single headlight of the Dodge was still on. A screeching noise of automotive death shivered the van as a wheel continued to turn. "Out! Out!" he shouted, trying to ignore the blood that blocked the vision of his left eye. They came slowly, sobbing, looking around as if they were